Praise be to you, Yahuwah my Elohim. Praise be to your Son, Yahushua my Messiah. I come at your feet in the name of your Son. Thank you for the knowledge you pour unto me, and thank you for breaking all the shackle that was bound on my face. Yahuwah, you are the only true living God. Thank you for your Yahushua, whom you truly love. You are Elohim, the Elohim of the Yahudim.
Shalom, family. I'm your brother, Pierre Ligi, and you're listening to The Remnant Awakens. If you've been with me for a while, you know this is the place where we dig deep, like real deep, into the roots of our faith, our identity, and the deceptions that have crept in over generations. I'm coming to you as a descendant of Yehuda, from the lineage of Shem, and, you know, I always say, we're not here to play churchy the region. We're here to wake up the remnant, to call out the truth, and to prepare for the second Exodus and the return of the King. So, if you're ready to challenge what you've been taught and get back to the ancient path, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. All right, let's just start with the basics, because honestly, this is where so many people get tripped up. Christianity did not begin with Yahusha. I know that's gonna ruffle some feathers, but hear me out. Yahusha wasn't a Christian. He never called himself that. He was a Torah-keeping Yahudi, straight from the tribe of Yehuda. He kept the Sabbath. He honored the feasts of Yahweh, and he walked in the commandments. That's not Christianity as we know it today. That's covenant faithfulness. And, you know, if you go back to our episode on the nations after the flood, we talked about how the covenant was given to the Hebrews, not to Rome, not to Europe, not to any of these denominations that came later. Yahusha came, renewed the covenant with the lost sheep of the house of Yasharel, and to graft in the nations, not to start a new religion called Christianity. So, when people say, I'm a Christian, I follow Jesus, but they don't keep Yahuwah's Sabbath, commandments, feasts, the faith of Yahusha, and don't even use the Father's real name and his Son's real name, then that's something completely different. I mean, look, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but we gotta be real. If we're gonna wake up the remnant, we gotta get back to what Yahusha actually did and taught, not what Rome or the church system handed down. So, let's talk about these fundamentalist Baptists for a second. You ever notice how they always say, we follow the fundamentals of the faith? But like, what are those fundamentals? Really? Where did they come from? Are they rooted in Torah? Or are they just traditions that got passed down from men? I mean, I grew up hearing about these denominations, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, all of that. But fundamentalist Baptists, they're real big on sola scriptura, right? Only the Bible. But then you look at what they actually teach, and it's a lot of doctrines that came out of the Protestant Reformation, not out of the mouth of Yahusha. Stuff like the sinner's prayer, Sunday worship, the rapture, none of that is in the Torah or the teachings of Yahusha. And, you know, I always get the sense that they're more about defending their tradition than actually seeking the truth. Like, if you question the fundamentals, you're a heretic. But what if the fundamentals themselves are off? What if they're not the foundation Yahusha laid? Here's the thing. Family, Denominations, all of them, are divisions. And divisions are not from Yahuwah. That's just facts. Yahusha prayed in John chapter 17 that we would be one, just like He and the Father are one. But what do we see today? We got thousands of denominations, all claiming to have the truth, all fighting over doctrine, all dividing the sheep. And as we talked about in the episode on the mystery of iniquity, this division is not accidental. It's by design. Man made denominations to divide truth and conquer the sheep. It's a strategy. Divide and conquer. If the enemy can keep us fighting each other, we'll never walk in unity. We'll never walk in power. And we'll never fulfill the calling Yahuwah has for us as the remnant. I mean, think about it. Did Yahuwah ever say, go start a Baptist church, or a Methodist church, or a Pentecostal church? Nah, that's man's doing. That's not the kingdom. So, what is the real faith then? It's not a denomination. It's a covenant. Yahusha didn't come to start a new religion. He came to renew the covenant with the lost sheep of the house of Yasharel and to graft in the nations. That's what the prophets spoke about. That's what the apostles taught, and that's what the whole story of Scripture is about. If you remember from our episode on the Bible being written to the Hebrews, the whole narrative is about the restoration of Yasharel, the awakening of the remnant, and the nations being grafted in, not replacing Yasharel, but joining the covenant. That's not a denomination. That's a family. That's a people. That's a relationship with Yahuwah through Yahusha, walking in the commandments, keeping the faith, and living set apart. So, if you're out here looking for the right church or the right denomination, you're missing the point. The real question is, are you in covenant? Are you walking in the way Yahusha walked? Now let's get into the warning from Revelation chapter 18 verse 4. Yahuwah says, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. That's not just talking about Babylon as a city or a system. That's talking about all these religious systems, all these denominations, all these traditions that have nothing to do with the covenant. Yahuwah is calling his people out of the confusion, out of the deception, out of the man-made doctrines. He's saying, come back to me, come back to the covenant, come back to the ancient path. And, sometimes that means leaving behind everything you thought you knew, even if it means to lose loved ones and being rejected. It's not easy, but it's necessary if we're going to be the remnant that stands in these last days. I mean, look, I always say it's better to be set apart, rejected, hated, and misunderstood than to be comfortable in deception and willingly being deceived. So, family, let me just say this plain. Christianity is not the faith of Yahusha. Denominations are not the body of Mashiach. And fundamentalist Baptists, they are not defenders of truth. They are gatekeepers of tradition and are all part of Babylon. And we are called to come out of them and walk the narrow way before it's too late. Yahuwah is calling his remnant to return to the ancient path, the Torah, the covenant, and the true names. And that's all for today, family. I am Pierre Ligi, your brother from the tribe of Yehuda, and this is the Remnant Awakens. If this message stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so it reaches more people, subscribe if you're awakening to truth, and comment below with what stood out to you the most. And if you know someone still stuck in them denominations, share this episode with them. Until next time, shalom. See you all on the next episode.
Praise be to you, Yahuwah my Elohim. Praise be to your Son, Yahushua my Messiah. I come at your feet in the name of your Son. Thank you for the knowledge you pour unto me, and thank you for breaking all the shackle that was bound on my face. Yahuwah, you are the only true living God. Indeed. Thank you for your Yahusha, whom you truly love. You are Elohim, the Elohim of the Yahudi.